Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Homeschool Minnesota. My name is Dayle Annan. This podcast is an outreach of MACHE. If you haven't heard of MACHE, I will be putting, of course, information in the description of this podcast. But this is an outreach of Minnesota Association of Christian Home Educators. And I'm just really excited. Today, we get to have somebody from an organization that talks about Christian speech and debate. They have Christian speech and debate clubs all over the country, and they like to teach kids how to speak well, how to stand up in front of people, maybe, even if they're nervous, to be able to present themselves in a very good way. So we have Christy with us today from NCFCA. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Dayle. It's so good to be here.
Thanks for coming. Can you tell us, first of all, a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I am actually a homeschool graduate myself, and it was my homeschooling experience that really gave rise to NCFCA Christian speech and debate. So I was homeschooled starting back in the 80s and through the 90s, and was a natural kind of speaker and debater around the house,
We all have those. I had 3 of them.
Yeah. Those kids.
Yeah.
So my dad is Mike Ferris, the founder of HSLDA.
See, I didn't know that. Well, I'm glad to have. Yeah, it's good to know.
Yes. So he's a go-getter. So he was like, we need to give this opportunity to homeschool students, because I didn't get the opportunity until I went to college. I went to Cedarville College in Ohio, great Christian school, joined their debate team while I was there, loved it. My dad and I talked all the time on the phone, me from college, like planning the debate strategies and everything.
Oh, that's so fun.
It was while I was in college that he said, we really need to start a speech and debate league, this opportunity for homeschool students. So that was even the genesis of this whole project.
I love that. Can you just explain to me, what does NCFCA stand for?
Sure. It's National Christian Forensics and Communications Association.
Okay.
So long mouthful, and the forensics does refer to speech competition.
Yes.
Not CSI activities.
Which is very, very nice to hear, because we don't want them, digging through things in the backyard. And
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It can get real ugly.
Yeah.
So, okay. So your dad, Mike Ferris, started NCFCA as a result of seeing kind of a lack of that kind of thing in the homeschool community, and knowing that it was a need. Can you tell us a little bit about who the target participant is for NCFCA, and kind of what kind of kid gets involved in that?
Yeah, sure. It's really for anyone, for any kid. Ages 12 to 18 is our competitive division. We also have a lot of regions and tournaments have a junior division for younger kids. That they don't qualify to go to nationals and things like that. So our competitive section is for ages 12 to 18. We do tell people it is targeted towards high school. So, but we know homeschoolers, sometimes a 12-year-old is really ready for a high school activity. And sometimes the 12-year-olds, get their feet wet with, say, one speech event, and they get used to it. And then in a couple years, when they truly are in high school, they join in some of our other events in the debate and things like that. But yeah, it's targeted toward high school with, like I said, opportunities for even younger students than that.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about the skills that are required in speech and debate? I think that a lot of families, maybe, especially if you're a second generation homeschooler that didn't have speech and debate, you might not understand the amount of academic benefits that you get from a speech and debate club. So can you talk a little bit about that, what that looks like?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a homeschool mom. I only have one student still left, though I've graduated 4. So a homeschool mom of 5 kids, and speech and debate was by far the best homeschool activity, the best class we ever did.
I hear that from everybody who does it.
Yes.
Like everybody.
It's so immersive, and it teaches you this whole range of skills. Yes, you can get those skills in other ways, but I don't know of anything else that puts them all together in one activity. And so in that way, I feel like it's so efficient and effective. And it's one of those deep dives into particular topics that just, beyond getting educated on that particular topic, students just learn so many skills by going deep. So you've got research, writing, listening. which is a lost art, right? Because some of those events are debating with other people. So you have to learn how to listen, ask good questions, answer questions, be persuasive. We also have events that are more on the entertainment acting side and learning to do that from a Christian perspective to, yes, to entertain people, to capture their interest, but also to capture their heart with a message that is glorifying to God and how to do that well. And I mean, so many skills that are being lost in our world today. I just think for me, I'm a debater. I write debate curriculum, so I'm very passionate about debate and persuasion. And what I see out in our world today is there's not a lot of people who are persuading. They are yelling, they are ranting, they're going off on their thing, but they're not trying to reach the other side. They're not trying to build common ground and find ways to appeal to somebody who might not agree with you already. And as Christians, I mean, what a better skill to teach our kids than how to persuade. Of course, that is in service to the gospel ultimately, right? But there's just so many ways we can use those skills for Christ in our world today. And it's just been incredibly valuable for my own kids. And like you said, every family I know
Yeah.
has just loved it and gained so much from it.
I think that it also translates when they go to college, like even if they're not going to be a speech and debate person, they're going to have to do presentations in college. They're going to do presentations in life and their job, or there's always going to be an opportunity for that. And so for them to have that like skill of being able to find information and make that information into, break it down into talking points and to be able to bring their point of view to it and to look at it from different perspectives. These are all things that are just valuable life skills that you don't get just anywhere. You have to
Absolutely.
provide them. And so I think speech and debate is very important for that.
It is an additional skill, like a research paper that you'd have to write for school. You will learn how to do that so well in
And
speech
take really
and
good
debate.
notes and notate it all.
Really good notes. Yeah, it's great for future career. Even if, like you said, you're not going to be a lawyer or a politician or something like that. I know people who've gone on to be engineers, nurses, and they said I had to give a presentation to people, and my speech and debate skills were invaluable. So yes. And then I would also just say making personal decisions in your life, like learning how to evaluate information, how to navigate the internet, which is crazy, how to find out like which is a good source, which is not. How do I parse through this information? What is good information, and how can I take that to make good decisions for my life? That's another skill that speech and debate teaches.
Yeah, I know a lot of, I mean, oftentimes when we're just looking for just like when we were, okay, so for example, we were voting this last year. And so my husband and I are very like, we need to know who we're voting for. And we wanted research, especially judges. I know a lot of people just kind of blow off the judge, but you know what? Have we not found out in the last 10 years how important judges are in our society? And so just really understanding where they come from and who they are and doing deep dives and knowing how to find that information. And of course, judges don't have like, they can't be partial, so they don't have a lot of their what they believe on there.
Sure.
But you can find out a lot about a judge by who appointed them or all these things. But anyways, just finding out that information and then saying, okay, well, this is actually not a really credible source. There were sources that we thought were really good, and then we started researching the source and we're like, oh yeah,
That's
not
right.
so good. But knowing how to do that and being patient enough to do that, persevering through it is something that I think is super valuable and definitely in today's society needed.
It's needed. And the great thing about speech and debate is that it naturally teaches your kids those things. It's not it's not like a class where it's like, okay, now learn how to research. Okay, now learn how to find a good source. Like they're motivated to do that just because they have to give that speech or be in that debate round. So it's such a great way for them to learn those skills just as part of a bigger activity that's already, most of the kids say, super fun and really motivating. They love to get together with their friends and be at the tournaments, and it's a great atmosphere.
Yeah. And I've also heard from parents whose families were very involved in speech and debate that their speech and debate friends are still their friends from high school.
Yes.
Like these are the group of kids that they are in touch with. These are the bridesmaids and groomsmen in their weddings, and
That's right.
these are the ones at the baby showers. And yeah, so
It's a close-knit community
I
for
love
sure.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
And we're looking for community for our families. And this is like a
Yes.
very like-minded community, which is great. Tell us a little
Exactly.
bit about starting a club. What would that look
Sure.
like if you were to start a debate club in your area?
Yeah. I mean, we've got all levels of clubs from just a couple of people meeting in the living room of somebody's house to like renting out a church and it's 100 people. And so it's really flexible. It's as flexible as homeschooling, you know? And it really is like we started the league with nobody being an expert, nobody really knowing, you know, all the people who started clubs at the beginning, they'd never done it before.
Yeah.
So it's really like all of the process of homeschooling. It's like, I've never done this before, but I'm going to get the book, I'm going to get the material. And we have so many helps for clubs to get started. We also have curriculum to teach speech and debate. And so a lot of clubs will start with just a few families gathering together. Like I said, could be in a home, could be in a church, and going through our curriculum together in the fall. So we have both speech and debate curriculum that's designed to be either a 12-week, you could do it in 12 weeks, you could do it in 15. If you wanted to stretch it, you could do it in 18. We have all of those plans. But the idea would be you go through that curriculum in the fall. Everybody learns together, just like homeschooling works so well, right? The parents can just like read one lesson ahead
Yeah.
than the kid, right? And you learn it together in say 12 to 15 weeks in the fall. And then our competition season starts after Christmas. So like in the new year in January, then there's competitive opportunities to take what you learned together in the fall and go exercise those skills at competitions. So the club times, most people do once a week, maybe 1.5 to 3 hours. It depends. Sometimes some people meet every other. There's lots of plans. And we actually have a club coordinator that works with people who would like to get started doing new clubs. So anyone who's interested can contact our office, which is office@ncfca.org. And we can put them in touch with a live person who will talk to you and walk you through it.
I love that live person. That's so neat.
Yes.
So we're going to be putting that information in the description of this podcast. Okay, so you mentioned competitions. See, that's a lot of the reason why I think kids like it, because there's kids who are not athletic necessarily, but even if they are, just being competitive in your mind and being able to debate in your, you know, with your peers and talk about topics that are relevant to today, and get them to think deeply and in a different perspective about the topics that we're hearing about all over the place and on the news. But one of the things, talk about a competition. So is there a lot of travel involved? What does that look like? Like, are they broken up into regions? I mean, what does that look like?
Yes. So we have competitions all over the country. And we have the country is divided into 13 different regions. Each region has 4 local tournaments. So like, for example, I'm in region 9. I live in Virginia, and our region is of several states. So we've got Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina. And there'll be some, you know, typically like a tournament in Maryland, a tournament or 2 in Virginia, a tournament or 2 in North Carolina. So some of the tournaments, like I have one that's 30 minutes from my house, and then there'll be a couple others that are like 4 hours away, 6 hours away. So yes, it does involve some travel to like a neighboring state.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a really fun, oh my goodness, those trips have been some of the sweetest times with my kids.
Yeah, I'll
And
bet.
seeing all their friends and getting on the road, just doing something different. It's really fun. So there's 4 local tournaments in every region, but there's also online opportunities. So you wouldn't have to travel at all just from the comfort of your own home. We have started since COVID online competitions as well. So we have both primarily in-person tournaments, but we also have some online opportunities too.
That's great. And you have a national competition coming up. And tell us where that
Yes.
is, Christy.
It's in Minnesota. Yes, it's at Northwestern University there in, I guess, what is it, Rosewood?
Roseville. Yep, it's about 10 minutes from my house.
Okay, there it is. So we would love to have anyone who's in the area come out and see us. It is the second week of June. Yeah, the full week, like I can't remember the exact dates, but second week of June, we'll be there. We would love for anyone to come out and watch. And how it works is anybody can go to a regional qualifying tournament. Anyone can enter. And then if you get into like the top 40%, you qualify to the regional championship. And if you get in the top 10% of the
Wow.
region, then you qualify to the national championship. So there will be students there from all over the country.
Wow.
Almost 500 students will be there competing, and it is so much fun to come watch and
That's
inspire.
wonderful.
Now, if you come and your kids come and watch, tell them they can do this. Like, they're going to see some amazing speeches and debates, and they're going to think, whoa, how is that possible? They're totally just normal
Yeah.
homeschool families like
They
you.
were
Yes,
beginners too.
they were beginners too. Yes, they've been doing it for a few years, so they're experienced now, but this is completely accessible to any student.
That's really great. So what does a competition day look like? If you were to bring your children, your kids to a competition, what would a typical regional competition entail?
Yes, it's 3 days, and we typically do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so we can take advantage of a little bit of the weekend, but not take away from church on Sunday.
Okay.
That's really important to us. Um, so we start early. We usually start at 7:30 in the morning with some worship and devotion and announcements, and then the first round starts at 8 o'clock. And we alternate between debate rounds and speech rounds. So typically, a round is scheduled for 2 hours, but it doesn't take 2 hours. It's just we give a lot of leeway for like people to walk to the room, the judges to get there, all that kind of stuff. So debate round, like in real time, a debater is going to be debating for an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. And a speech is only a maximum of 10 minutes.
Okay.
But the speeches are individual. So you'll have a room of, say, 8 different individuals giving 10-minute speeches. That's the judge will experience all 8. You as a speaker would just go in there for your 10 minutes, speak, and then leave. So it's like a 8 a.m. debate round, 10 a.m. speech round, noon debate round, 2 p.m. speech round, kind of like that
Okay.
throughout the day, just going back and forth. And we go through the evening, it's sometimes 8 o'clock ish, and then do that whole thing again on Friday. So everybody competes Thursday, Friday, or the first 2 days. Sometimes it's a different day of the week, but everybody does all the preliminary rounds. Then Saturday, the final day, is the rounds that are now we're going into quarterfinals, semifinals, final rounds, and narrowing it down to the winner. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So you get a chance to do both, because if they're alternating speech
Yes.
and debate, then you can be in both.
Exactly.
Because if your child is really great at speech but struggles a little bit in debate, that's okay. They can still do both, and it just
Absolutely.
sharpens their skills a little bit.
Yes.
What are some things like, okay, so if I'm a mom who is thinking like, I'd really love to do this, but I only have like 2 other families maybe that would be willing to do this with me,
Yeah.
or 1 other family,
Sure.
it's still doable. It's still doable to
Totally.
do a club and to do a build. Well, how many people are on a typical debate team? Is it just 2, or
Just
is it
2. And we have, just 2. So a lot of times it can be siblings. A lot of
Okay.
people do that. But also, there's a debate event. We have Lincoln Douglas Value Debate. That is just 1. You
Wow.
don't even need a partner. So that's, even if you don't have a club, you can do this by yourself at home. In our curriculum, I would still recommend for people getting started, the speech and debate curriculum has instruction in there for, like, if you're by yourself at home with just you and your child,
Mhm.
it has adaptations in there for you how to do that too.
Well, I think that for a lot of families, that's kind of how it'll start for them, is that they'll be like, well, I've got 1 kid who wants to do this, but nobody else, everybody's like, wait, I don't know if this is something that my kids want to commit to, but you'll have to be the pioneer and just kind of go, well, I'm just going to do it with my 1 child, and we're
Yep.
just going to go for it. And then
That's right.
as they see your child doing it and enjoying it, and they're seeing your experience, hopefully that'll bring other kids in. But the other thing too is just to really remind people of the benefits of speech and debate and what that gives your children in the long term.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will also say we do have existing clubs all over the country, and you can go on our website, ncfca.org, and find your area and see if there's a club nearby. And even if there's sometimes where it's like, oh, it's an hour away, it's a 2 hours away, I don't want to drive that far. But our clubs are really generous. Like, we love this activity for all our kids. We want everybody to be able to have this opportunity. So what I found too is somebody who might live a distance from a club will call that club leader and get support and get help. And so, for example, like it is helpful when you're preparing for some of these events to have other people helping research together.
Yeah.
And so, just for the purposes of like, hey, it's hard for me by myself to be researching this all alone. Can I be part of your research group and just like get online with a few people and research or practice debates online? That happens all over the country. I personally do that with my club. I help some kids that they don't have a club near them. And we'll meet on Zoom and we'll talk about, getting ready for the research. And my club will share research with them. Most of the clubs are really generous about
Love that.
sharing and helping. So there's this whole community out there. Even if you can't personally drive there, there's a lot of help out there.
That's so good. Yeah, the homeschool community is very generous about a lot of, we all just want to see our kids succeed and we want to see everybody else's kids succeed. So
That's right.
it's such
Exactly.
a great place to be. I love
Yes.
that. Just some parting thoughts. Just, if there was one thing that you would say to a mom that you want to just leave with them about just a story or something about speech and debate and just, what God has used that and how God has used that in your life or in the life of your kids or a child that a student that can you share just one really good example?
Sure. So we have an event that is apologetics. It is unique to Christian speech and debate, not
Love
into other
that.
secular leagues. So
Yeah.
they learn to answer theological and apologetics question. And, it's in competition. So you're doing it, you're motivated to study all of these deep theological questions. A lot of people use the event of apologetics, by the way, to be like their theology course for their home
Yeah.
school. But I know of a young man who was in apologetics, and we allow those students to have in competition, they prepare little index cards, note cards with all of their notes on it that they can use to help them answer the questions so that they can quote the Bible verses correctly. They can have, quotations from theologians and things like that to support their answer. So he had his whole little box of note cards with apologetics answers on it. And he got into a conversation just like at a coffee shop with another young person, and they started talking about the Lord. And the more they talked, I think this person he was talking to was, just had a lot of deeper questions.
Yeah.
That are sometimes tricky to answer. But this young man, not only was he prepared because he had studied apologetics, but also he went out into his car and he said, I've got my apologetics box out here. And he just gave this person his whole apologetics box with all of his cards already written out, all the Bible verses already written out, gave it to this person and was able to share Christ in that way. I also have one other fun story to tell you is about a young man that I know in my region who had a very significant speech impediment and some cognitive issues. And so his parents put him into speech and debate to just help him get more comfortable with speaking. And he went from hardly being able to speak in front of anyone to after he graduated high school, he gave the toast at his best friend's wedding.
Oh, my word.
Like it brought his family to tears to see him be able to do that.
It makes me want to cry. It's like just what we can give our kids, we're just so
Yes.
blessed that we can give our kids such an amazing experience and it can change like their whole perspective on life and it gives them confidence and if it does nothing more than just make them go, I can talk to people. I can share the gospel with people. I already have the knowledge that I need to be able to do that.
Yes.
They're already steps ahead of 90% of Christians right now.
That's it. That's it. That is it. You have just articulated. Thank you for bringing that up because that is really my passion and heart is that what if Christian young people who love the Lord are the ones who are trained in the art of communication and they have the confidence, like you said, to speak up, to speak into things. That's what we want. When the Lord brings along opportunities that our kids will say yes, and they will speak into it and they will speak up and they will do it in a way that has integrity and is done in a gracious manner. That's part of our mission too, is to challenge and equip ambassadors for Christ to communicate truth with integrity and grace.
Exactly. That's so good. Just a whole generation of world changers just getting ready to get out there and change everything. And we need that so badly, obviously.
That's right.
Well, Christy, thank you so much for what you do. I'm so excited about NCFCA. I wish that we homeschooled on the mission field, so it wasn't a thing, but I did speech and debate with my kids in a co-op on the mission field with other missionary families. And I watched,
Wow.
I just downloaded a free speech and debate like curriculum online. It was very simple, but it changed our kids. I mean, it became their favorite subject. And then the second time we taught it, those who had gone through it the first time became the mentors of the ones that were going
Yes.
through it again. And it was just so fun to watch them. One girl in particular, I think about, she was born with some challenges, and she was an adopted daughter of one of our missionary families. And she just blossomed to the point where it was like nobody wanted to debate her because she was good. She knew what she was talking about, and she really was very articulate, which shocked her mother. Her mother would just sit and debate and just be like, "Oh my gosh, that's my baby," because just that was not her personality.
Yes.
But to watch her come out and everybody to just be like cheering her on, even if they were going against her, they were so happy for her. And it was just so much fun. And now she's like a kindergarten teacher. She went to college and just blossomed, and she's amazing. And just to watch her do those things and to watch her come out of her shell was just such a huge blessing. And, if you think your child, you're like, they could never do this, do it anyway, because it will change them. It will give them confidence. This is a really safe place from what I understand, that kids cheer each other on. They want each other to succeed. And they need that in their peer group. They need to be able to, the opposite of the bullying, like the cheering them on. And even when you lose to that person, you feel like, well, I mean, I lost to a really great debater. There's nothing negative about that. And so, yeah, I just want to thank you so much for what you're doing for this generation and for families to be able to raise their kids with a real knowledge of how to be articulate and to have integrity and to be able to just share not only about themselves but about the gospel with the world. So everything you guys need to know about NCFCA will be in the description of this podcast. I encourage you very much. I encourage you to just check it out and see what you can do to get involved. So thank you so much, Christy.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.